Right, according to statistics from the Nigerian Communications Commission, the country's total active lines dropped by 5.5% to 114 million lines in July from 120 million in June. And meanwhile, inactive telephone lines have now hit 52.7 million as the teledensity also declined to 82%. And for more on the future of Nigeria's telecom sector, I'm now joined in the studios by Afam Edozie, Director at Firecrest Capital. Thank you so much, Afam, for joining us. So I guess when we hear this type of statistics, we get a little worried. But then I guess there must be a story behind this. What's your take around why we're seeing a drop in the number of active lines?
I think what you'll see, Wale, is that right now, the telecom sector in Nigeria is much more mature than it was a few years back. Right. So the new customers are no longer coming on. It's really just the same old customers that we've always had, and of course, those that are being newly born and coming into the workforce. So what you're finding is that the teledensity now is also being affected by the economy, as well as by the growth of the industry.
Right.
And right now, when we're in a period where the economy is a little bit sluggish, you might find that people may not have as much money as previously to recharge, and their phones go into dormancy, and hence you're seeing fluctuations.
But on the flip side, we know that we have service issues in Nigeria, and so as a result, I get the sense that a lot of people are using more than one phone. I certainly do. So your thoughts about the issues that the telcos have to deal with in this market, and how you think this is likely to impact investment returns going forward?
Well, I think in terms of when you say the telcos, most people like yourself are thinking a lot about the voice carriers.
That's right.
And as I said, the voice market is now very mature in Nigeria. Most of the big investment is done. The investment that's going to be done moving forward is really to replace and upgrade the voice networks that are there now. What you find is that the industry is beginning to transform. Of course, all the time, technology is changing, and it's moving now from a voice-centric type service to data-centric services. Yeah. And that's really where you're going to see the growth, and you're seeing still relatively very high levels of return on investment for people who are more focused on investing in data. Right. But as far as voice is concerned, you're also seeing a lot of the older voice carriers basically beginning to either merge or even drop away totally and no longer in the market.
Right, we've certainly seen that with the CDMA players, and we'll talk a bit about them later on. But let's talk about your thoughts about the opportunity to grow your business using data. Of course, we know that in Nigeria now there is a broadband policy, some suggesting that perhaps that's something that the government still needs to think about in terms of how it's going to execute it. But your thoughts about the data opportunity in Nigeria and how that is evolving?
Well, I mean, if you look across the world, you'll see people are increasingly making use of data services either via their smartphones or tablets, which 5 years ago, I mean, most people didn't know what a tablet was. Today, everybody is trying to get to YouTube and to Facebook. And here in Nigeria, we also want to be a part of that revolution that's going on. The information, the entertainment, the access to knowledge and new opportunities that is being enabled. At the moment, we have very, very low penetration of broadband services in the country. But you'll find that certainly all of the young people and a lot of the older people like me want to also take part and have fast services, be able to watch YouTube, download our music. And so there's an enormous opportunity in the country as far as those types of services are concerned.
Clearly, the opportunity is there, the demand is there, but then given the infrastructure that we have, do you think this is still a huge opportunity, especially for telcos that are looking to maybe increase ARPUs? Do you think data is the way to go? Do you see that as a realistic way to go right now?
I mean, people want this service. If they have the capability to provide it, then of course it's 100% realistic. At the end of the day, business is about meeting needs, and if the need is there, then there's a profit to be made in terms of meeting that need. When I first came, or when I came back to Nigeria in 2001, there were less than 400,000 people with telephones in the country, and the infrastructure was not there. nothing was there. Now, 12 years later, the infrastructure is there. So yes, the infrastructure is not there for broadband today, but we are all in the process of implementing and investing in putting that infrastructure on ground. And in the next 5 years, you'll see that a huge amount of infrastructure.
You're expecting a revolution there in terms of broadband penetration in Nigeria?
100%. I mean, today you use a smartphone. I'm sure today you use YouTube. Even your network is basically being disseminated over the internet. And you'll be surprised in 5 years from now, more people will be watching you online than are watching you on the traditional broadcast channels.
I won't be totally surprised, but maybe a little surprised given the infrastructure issues with Nigeria. But we'll see how it plays out. But I want to quickly get your thoughts on the CDMA players.
Yes.
We're seeing them also drop from about 2.56 million lines to 2.51. So a marginal drop there. But then a lot of people suggesting that that business is more or less dead in this country. They just cannot compete with the larger telcos. Of course, some of them are now shifting their approach to the market and focusing more on data. How do you see, what are your thoughts on the future of CDMA in this country?
I mean, the future of CDMA all over the world is there's no future. Even now, the equipment vendors are becoming more and more reluctant to support the technology and are saying, well, unless you're ready to replace it, we don't have anything to fix what's going down. So as a technology, CDMA is reaching a dead end, so to speak. And therefore, the future has to be in other areas. The transformation that is taking place now is both the GSM world as well as the CDMA world is transforming into the fourth generation of digital network or digital wireless networks. And that is really where I think most of the players will find a future if they want to have one.
Right.